So hey, I'm going to continue my car videos. I've just stopped into my friend Ferg's coffee shop on the way home from dropping the kids to school. Ferg is one of our artisan coffee producers here in Ireland, and he makes great coffee, so it's cool to be able to swing by and get coffee on the way back. So this place is lovely, and coffee's good. Staff are always welcoming and delightful. The story I want to tell you today is it's another part of how I've been able to make kind of changes and have kind of compounding changes impacting my life, my setup, my fitness, my well-being, and just wanted to share a thought with you about how to do that. When we lived in London, I was struggling a lot with migraines, and it was really debilitating. Like, I was taking painkillers every day, and I was kind of often having to stay in the bed in dark rooms to not be overstimulated. I would miss work. I'd spend time with the doctor. I'd be going to chiropractors or osteopaths to get help to kind of loosen things up, and it would stop me from doing things. Like, our son was kind of 2 or 3 at one point, and sometimes I wouldn't want to be like lifting him or carrying him upstairs, or like necessarily taking on any kind of significant physical tasks, just stuff that a man in his 30s should be able to do and handle. And I had a really kind of things were a struggle because I let them be a struggle, but also I'd really started to limit my movement and to figure it out. But thankfully, I had a great friend called Salahin who worked in the Apple store in Covent Garden with me, and he suggested that I would try a little bit more movement, and he suggested maybe trying some yoga. And he's like, look, I totally understand that somebody in your late 30s, you don't necessarily want to go along to one of the trendy yoga studios full of kind of young women in their Lululemon gear. Like, I totally get that you might not feel like you fit into that scene, so why don't you just try like a 99 pence app. I can't remember the exact one it was, but I did, and I had to take Salahin serious because he was just a couple of years older than me, but he was super fit. He's an amazing musician. He had a black belt. He'd studied a few different martial arts, and like, he was the epitome of like fitness and well-being. Like, he was very conscious about his eating, kind of what he put into his body, and he was up for anything. He would take on any kind of physical challenges or any kind of work-related things. He was happy to jump in and just do his best. He's a beautiful soul. Himself and his wife have 2 amazing kids and live in California at the moment, and just they're both super inspiring. I'm so impressed by them, that and that Salahin is putting out music to this day, so and he often has like cool challenges, like making a track every day for a month. So like, he's inspiring, and he's streamed some of his stuff on Twitch before, and he regularly puts out music and content, and I hope to get to see him again soon, because we haven't seen each other for a bit. He does live on the other side of the planet, but we'll see if we can make it work. Anyway, to the point, really. Salahin suggested I download a 99 pence app, and I did, and he was like, just try 15 minutes a day. And I did the first day, and like, okay, like it felt weird. I wasn't used to the movement or the poses. I didn't know what half the names of the things were, because yoga had never been something I'd participated in before. But after about 5 days, I noticed a looseness in my back and my shoulders and my neck, and I noticed that I wasn't having to take painkillers to do it, and I started to feel that I was the master of my body, and I was in control because I'd introduced movement as medicine. And it was transformation for me. It was part of, I'd already started on a journey around kind of spirituality, around kind of thinking about kind of my mindsets and how I think about things. So this was just transformational to try something different, and something I definitely had a fixed mindset around, because I'd never done yoga before. It wasn't something that, you know, was normal for me. But within a couple of days, I just had a sense of freedom and ownership of my body that I'd never had before. And this has led me on a massive journey around well-being, mental, physical, spiritual well-being for me. Like from there, you know, I went on a journey about like what I started thinking about. What was I putting into my body? What was I eating? What was I drinking? How many bags of Haribo a day was too many? That was definitely a turning point for me, to be able to start to feel in control and on top of a situation, you know, and then starting to understand what more movement would look like and what freedom in this space would bring. And that's just been a compounding effect that's gotten me all the way from there to like being fit and healthy enough to kind of run multiple times a week and take on the challenges that I have like over the past couple of years. Around this time, we'd had our second child, our first girl, and you know, life had changed again. So we had two kids. You know, we had to journey through that. Like it was a real learning curve for us as parents. Something, you know, we really enjoyed, and it was challenging in its own way, because like we were back to kind of getting less sleep, and this was compounding the fact that I wasn't feeling great. So when I picked up yoga as a means of movement and a means of kind of freeing up my body and being more in charge and responsible for that, it made a big difference. But it also got me thinking about the fact that I really wanted to be able to walk my daughter down the aisle. And at the point I was about 40, and I was thinking, in 40 years' time, if she wants to get married and walk down the aisle, I want to be a fit, healthy, active 80-year-old, and to be able to show up and do that, to be able to. And I started to think about what life choices can I make now that are going to help me to move forward. For me, being able to think of myself in the future and being able to think connected to something really deep, like being there for my daughter, being healthy and well, being able to walk her down the aisle and, you know, be part of that wonderful celebration of life, even in 40 years, has kept me motivated. Now, don't get me wrong, I love cake and I love carb loading around races, and I love recovering from big runs and having to eat and enjoy it. And, you know, I like cake too much to give up running, but that's a day in, day out kind of factor that helps, you know, keep my weight under control as a man in his 50s. But the overriding call and thinking and processing in my head is around the fact that I want to be there for my kids. Currently, I want to outrun them. I want to have energy for all the things that they ask and show up and want me to do. Whether that's, you know, at the swimming pool during the summer, or it's occasionally, you know, my daughter will be like, come on, I'll race you. And thankfully I'm still beating her. But she's 11, she's getting faster. I don't know how much longer that's going to carry on, but we'll see. One of the things now as I take on the bigger challenges is I feel like I'm setting an example of like what's possible. You know, so if my kids can believe that it's possible for someone like me to pull on a pair of shoes and shorts and go out and run up a mountain or run a marathon, then I'm just hoping that sets an example that for them to not be limited in their beliefs. I also think that's partly why I'm putting this content on YouTube, is as a legacy to say, hey, here's how I'm making changes in my life, and here's how I'm showing up and wanting to change the world, but also it's out of response for love for both my kids. And at some point, you know, maybe in the future, they'll get to turn around and watch these videos. Hey, thanks for listening to that story. I hope you got something out of it. And I will, if you're anywhere in Wicklow and you get a chance to drop into Roasted Brown Coffee, comes the high recommendation from me. See you next time.